Hi, I'm Sijia, PhD student from UC Berkeley. Today, I'm going to present our work, Sensemaking and the Chemtrail Conspiracy on the Internet, Insights from Believers and Ex-Believers. There are a surprising number of people who believe in things like the Earth is flat or the moon landings never happened. In recent years, many conspiracy theories thrive on the Internet, which sometimes lead to dangerous actions or cause social and political harm to society. How do people make sense of conspiracy theories, and what role does the internet play in the process? In this research, we focus on the chemtrail conspiracy as an exemplar of a popular conspiracy that has a wide internet presence. There are multiple theories of chemtrails, which usually focus on the belief that the visible condensation trails behind airplanes are chemicals sprayed for secret, nefarious purposes. We first reach out to chemtrail believers to understand their sense-making in entering the belief. Surprisingly, we also found some ex-believers who were eager to share how they exit the chemtrail beliefs. We used wide sense-making framework to understand their experiences. There are three core elements of the framework: frame, context, and cues. In the online context, people make sense of informational cues about conspiracy theories within the socio-technical context. Additionally, people understand informational cues in relation to their frames of existing beliefs and worldviews. In this presentation, we examine two major questions. How do frames, context, and cues work in the sense-making process of entering beliefs? How do they work in the process of exiting beliefs? To answer those questions, we conducted semi-structured interviews with 13 chemtrail believers and 7 chemtrail ex-believers. We located believers in pro-conspiracy online communities. We located ex-believers through public recruiting posts in anti-conspiracy and ex-believer online communities. Some participants introduced us to other believers or ex-believers they knew. In the interviews, we understood believers' sense-making process by asking their trajectory of entering beliefs. For ex-believers, we first interviewed them about their experiences as past believers. Then we asked about their process of exiting beliefs. We start with the sense-making of entering beliefs. Many believers describe common frames that influence their sense-making about the chemtrail conspiracy. Chemtrails are described as a form of poisonous chemicals. We find that some believers blamed chemtrails for their health issues or environmental problems. For example, before believed there was a direct relationship between chemtrails and his symptoms. Similarly, participants who have a distrust of government would think that the government is willing to spray chemtrails for their own benefit. Besides, many believers believe in more than one conspiracy and even form a conspiratorial worldview. As E6 reflected, the conspiratorial worldview caused her to adopt new conspiracies easily without much evidence. Next, we discuss the role of context and cues in the sense-making process as individuals become believers. We find that the pro-conspiracy information accumulates through a socio-technical process. For example, while search and recommendation algorithms curate pro-conspiracy information, believers also share informational cues repetitively across platforms to look for affirmation of their beliefs. As E7 reflected, the pro-chemtrail information could be extremely repetitive, yet the quality of repetitive information also makes it appear abundant. The social interactions further narrow down believers' information diet. Believers mostly accept information from a trusted network of believers. They alienate themselves from people who have different opinions and can dismiss information from them without carefully reading. Also, since the chemtrail conspiracy and related beliefs are sometimes unique knowledge not accepted by the mainstream, exploring conspiracies with other believers provide a sense of entertainment, uniqueness, and social approval. Even when some believers are not necessarily interested in the truth of chemtrails, those incentives make them stay and participate, thus being exposed to more convincing narratives. We find that many believers like B2 actually do not think they have found the final revealing piece of evidence of chemtrails. However, they still adopt the conspiracy because of the abundance of pro-chemtrail information they've seen. Now, we've explained how frame, context, and cues work together in the sense-making of entering beliefs. How are sense-making processes important for changing from a believer to an ex-believer in the chemtrail conspiracy? We find that the breakup of chemtrail beliefs can come from cracks in the frame. When the chemtrail narratives align with people's beliefs or worldviews, they may lean towards believing it. However, as believers access more information about chemtrails, some elements of narratives can also challenge their beliefs or worldviews. For example, E5's beliefs started to break when he heard theories that were too far-fetched to him, such as chemtrails are for depopulation. Besides, he found that the conspiracy narratives contradict one another and were not likely to be all true. We found that once believers become skeptical of one conspiracy, they began to search for debunking information, and their conspiratorial worldview could collapse. As a result, they may end up exiting a whole series of conspiracies. Next, we discuss the importance of context and cues in exiting beliefs. The catalyst for breaking beliefs is exposure to anti-conspiracy information, but the social context is equally and often critically important. Previously, we mentioned how believers rarely get to see debunking information and may dismiss it immediately without close reading. We find that in some cases, the internet may expose believers to debunking information and open up their mind to listen. E6 used to dismiss chemtrail debunking content, but she accidentally clicked a video that she thought at first was pro-chemtrail, but was actually anti-chemtrail. With her guard down, she listened to the narrator's debunking rationale for the first time and became skeptical. We also learned that anti-chemtrail activists deliberately created opportunities for believers to listen. They created anti-chemtrail groups that looked very much alike existing pro-chemtrail groups. After believers are tricked to join, they started a conversation to present individualized debunking information in hope to change their views. Though deception can open up believers' mind temporarily, what's more essential is trust and understanding when conveying debunking evidence. Several ex-believers were persuaded by their friends, family, or teachers. In the online world, debunkers can also work to build trust and show friendliness to believers, which was a critical part of breaking beliefs for several participants. For many ex-believers in our study, their change of worldviews or being tricked to read debunking information are only the first step towards exiting conspiratorial beliefs. As entering beliefs, the process of exiting is social. Conversation with non-believers they trust is key to their transition. Next, we talk about the implications of our research. Conspiracy theories present a puzzle with mysteries to solve in a sea of ambiguous information. We find that the internet becomes the site for conspiracy believers' collective sense-making of the puzzle. However, people's beliefs and worldviews and the socio-technical context can collectively create a false sense of information abundance and thriving community. Importantly, the internet may inadvertently trap believers in a perpetual state of ambiguity. Does the internet help people find the truth of chemtrails? Many believers told us that they still find it hard to make sense of what leads to the long-lasting condensation clouds in the sky. However, they choose to believe in chemtrails because of the abundance of related information they found. Besides, it's important to realize that not all believers in conspiracy communities are motivated to find the truth about chemtrails. The conspiracy offers a way for believers to express their dissatisfaction with authority, enjoy a sense of community, and find some entertainment along the way. The socio-technical process of entering beliefs also creates challenges in debunking conspiracies. Current research on debunking false conspiracy theories and misinformation emphasizes the importance of exposure to counter-narratives. In our research, we find that believers rarely see debunking information and may dismiss it without close interpretation. Even when some are aware of counter-narratives, they still adopt the conspiracy because of the sheer amount of pro-conspiracy information they perceive compared to anti-conspiracy information. Our findings suggest that debunking information doesn't work alone in order to be effective. Rather, context in which counter-evidence is conveyed plays an important role in the sense-making process. Believers are exposed to debunking information when recommendation algorithms or search functions lead them to debunking information. They also let their guard down when non-believers build trust and understandings with them. We believe that one fruitful approach to productively challenge beliefs may be to build understanding and trust before conveying counter-evidence. Just as some friendly debunkers were able to build connections with believers, addressing the issues of false conspiracy theories may require us to see our similarities and common concerns instead of focusing solely on our differences in beliefs. Another important way to address the reinforcement of conspiracy theories is to actively work to enhance the social translucence of online platforms that host these interactions. Our findings show that believers often have little awareness about the existence of their own echo chambers within online conspiracy groups. Thus, it is important to make visible the informational processes and interpretations of online systems, such as unpacking the opaque algorithms. It is equally important to make visible the online social relationships, such as visualizing social networks and online social groups. That's all for the talk. Thank you.